some high shit. No, yo, because like literally moments ago before we started recording, I was watching Mighty Ducks or whatever. I was just I
Yes.
took a trip down memory lane, bro. I didn't watch number one because like number one's like a bit like kind of slower pace. It is what it is, but I watched two and three, bro. Just like it, just all the moments were like how they just you're watching them be kids doing like kid pranks or whatever, and then you're thinking in your mind like in real life, like these kids would get messed up if that was the case. But I say all that to say, like the one hockey coach in the third one, this guy was tripping as far as dropping all types of jewels and shit. But those are those like kind of '90s movies where they have like a little message in there and shit. And he was just saying, like, yeah, bro, you kind of have to play life like how you play life like on some proper defense because it's like they were like, I want to play two-way hockey. So the coach was like, he was getting them prepared for basically life by saying things like you're gonna have to play life on the defense. Um, as far as unexpected turns and different things like that could come and happen, but like you gotta be you gotta anchor down and like attack the situation or whatever. And like even though like you might lose or whatever, but you got to play with confidence. Like you got to play this life game with confidence, regardless of what's happening. Like you got to make sure you're, keeping a level head. Try your best not to let your wits get to you and your nerves wreck you and stuff like that. But it was pretty dope. It was like a trip down memory lane, but it was like some gems. And I'm going through my own little one too right now, Trent. And it's like you watch little movies and you kind of think to yourself, like, yeah, man, I can approach this and use this in real life.
I hear you, man. Like those movies, especially those three movies, but like just wow, like just takes me back. I've got Bombay's jersey in my closet, so there you go. But yeah, that especially like that whole idea of playing like defense in real life. Yeah, that was something more for me. I always saw it more of as like a humbling thing, like him like humbling out Charlie a bit and like just chilling him out. Like, look, you're all hot shit and all that, but you got to like be able, like you said, play defense too as well. So that always was like a bit of a humble. That, to me, it would always seem like, oh, he was humbling him, sort of thing, which makes sense. Considering like before that, he was always in like he was like coach's like son sort of role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the part of it. Like, sure, even though the part at the beginning where he doesn't want Bombay to go and pursue that new job or whatever, it's just like you could see the fact that he's glad that he's had him around as present, like a father figure or like a male, like a positive influence as a male or whatever. I don't know, like just when you watch certain movies, like it's not that those movies it's funny because you watch them now. When you were a kid, they were the dopest movies. But when you watch them as an adult, you see like the certain messages and things that they were really trying to put out there. And like that's what's kind of cool about revisiting certain things as a kid. Don't get me wrong, you might watch certain other movies that it's like, what the heck? What was I watching when I was 10 or when I was 12? But other times you look back and you can say to yourself, okay, that was actually pretty dope. But yeah, man, I guess playing not even just about defense, but like playing like being strategic with your moves, being accountable with your moves. Not you might be down a few points in using the sports analogy. You might be down a few points, but if there's a will to come back, there's a way, so to speak. So I'm looking at, I'm trying to look at life through that perspective more and more. So I don't know. It was cool to see that lesson within the movie and kind of confirmed like how I need to be approaching this next chapter in life. And yeah, man.
If anything, my vibe right now is Bombay stepping off that bus in the second film. Like it's good to be home, all beat up, and just like trying to return back to like get back to where he was, sort of thing. With that song playing in the background, "This Too Will Pass" by Peter Himmelman. It's just a fantastic song on its own, but like that's a whole vibe. That whole just like him, just like this is it, and here we are starting again. I know that feeling all too well, but that's especially with this. That's how I know how like that's where I feel I'm at right now.
Straight up, yeah, man. And it's funny they use that specific, even though it was a song title. that specific phrase is like, I'm pretty sure it's like a Bible phrase or phrase in the Bible in context, but just in looking at it from a standpoint of just how things will pass, things are temporary. Try not to allow them to define you, even though like it's like, oh man, it's happening to me. Woe is me. But at the same time, if it's a negative situation, but it's like positive or negative, like you gotta just be in that moment. If it's an amazing moment, enjoy that, bask in it, love that moment, because unfortunately, on the flip side, when it's a negative one, you're still gonna feel the brunt of it. But you can still say to yourself, yo, I'm gonna become stronger after this, or this too will pass. So yeah, but it's good though. It's good that if you're able to actually feel and not just be numb to everything, because we can all say, oh yeah, I'm desensitized. But when something happens that genuinely hits you close to home, if it's whether it's your parents, whether it's your kid, whether it's whatever, anything negative, super unfortunate. But those things sometimes make us realize how alive we are, because it's like you get to feel unfortunate, like whether it's good or bad, you get to feel those, actually experience those, those moments. You don't have to shy away from them if you're real.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's that like present pain, like you're feeling now, is not gonna last.
Good or bad. Good or bad.
Good or bad. It's not gonna like. It's just gonna be in this moment, sort of thing. The next moment's coming.
Yeah.
And like I said, this too will pass.
It's a good way. It's a good way to understand things, because it sucks, because you're kind of like robbing yourself, saying like, well, if it's a good moment, yeah, I know it's gonna pass, but why do I gotta rob myself and be like, oh, this is gonna be over soon? It's not. I'm not saying approach it like that. I'm saying more just understanding that we gotta enjoy those moments, because that's literally what it is. That's why the term is that, like, a moment. It's not a whatever long period of time you want to choose, like phrase you want to use for a long period of time. Unfortunately, it's not that. It's not some type of years or some type of. It's brief. It's fleeting. It's here and gone. And I love it too, because like when you think back on certain memories or certain dope experiences, and then you think forward to like all the dope experiences that you can have happen, like can make happen. It's good to know that, even though you got to try to stay grounded in the present at the same time, it's good to know that it's up to you to create those dope moments in the future. How you perceive things, how when life happens, like how you react to them shits. I don't know. I like that is incorporated within our experience,
Yeah, man. Like it's just it's just something. like you said, like it's embracing the moment as it comes, but like at the same time, it's not like you said, like if it's a good thing, it's embracing it. If it's a bad moment, it's just understanding that it's gonna go on from here, and you're gonna grow from here regardless, good time and bad time.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, hey, it's something that I guess was kind of sparked. Like I was feeling those ways, and looking at life through that lens to a degree beforehand. But as I was watching the Mighty Ducks, like just literally moments before we started recording, it's cool that those topics were kind of brought up, and it's just like kind of reaffirmed that I gotta be adding that to my repertoire, and just looking at life from a lens of, you don't have to stress it, because things will pass, but at the same time, because you're human, you're gonna feel like, oh, it will never pass, or you're gonna feel like that, as if this is gonna be the way you're gonna be living for the rest of your life, when that's not necessarily the case.
Exactly. It's just a matter of knowing this is not your whole life. This is just like for right now, sort of thing. And that's, for a lot of people, that's hard to, like, especially when you're in the shit, it's hard to rationalize that and to put that like into perspective. Like, I'm just as bad for it as anybody else, but like it's just that matter of knowing, like, it's gonna get, like, one day this is gonna be over. I don't know when, but it's gonna be over one day. Like, for better or for worse, it's gonna be over, and then we'll go from there to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing.
Yeah, hopefully, and hopefully you're conscious and present enough to actually, because it's not about saying, oh, everything has a lesson or whatever, or oh, everything has meaning, because not everyone looks at life like that. But at the same time, if you can somehow find meaning or purpose in those things that are happening, events that are happening, whether it's to shape you to be a better person, or whether it's to show that you can overcome that and you're more resilient than you thought, whatever the case is, use that as fuel, my friends. Use that as fuel. I realize that it's so easy for us to be a negative, like like this negative experience happens and I got to carry this for life and I'm traumatized and this, that, and the third, when the reality is sometimes it's not always a traumatizing moment. Sometimes it's just a learning moment. Yes, danger or some type of fear or whatever could have been there. Like it was very real. But at the same time, like we can use more, we're stronger than we actually are, like we think we are. And we can use certain moments to just catapult us into our best selves. But sometimes it's tricky. And again, it's just how we perceive these things. Because we're all going to face negative things, unfortunately. But how do you react to said thing? Will it define you, or will you overcome that and whoop that thing's ass? I hope that you choose the latter. You know what I mean? I hope you choose the latter.
Always, like it's all you can hope for is that they don't want to roll over and just call it a day, but like they just want to keep going, like going against whatever they're fighting against, basically. And it's just a matter of keeping that fight alive, and that's the hardest part half the time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just there's more. If we could somehow demonstrate that to people that there's more to live for, there's more to experience, and there's more to chase. Not even chase as far as like as if you have to chase something. I mean chase as far as whether it's your next day. Fight for that shit, bro. Like embrace the fact that no, like you're good enough to have today, experience today, enjoy today, whether it's a rough patch, get over that, and then go on to the next situation. But a lot of like it's tough because you see certain scenarios, especially like if you see it within your own family. Bro, I get it. This life thing is tough, but it's like we're all in it, and we all kind of have to face these things. We all have to overcome these things. If all of us chose to just, if all of us like just wanted to just kind of be like roll over, so to speak, bro, it'd be tough out here for everybody. But that's what makes, I guess that's what makes people who they are, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, hey. I don't know, anything new you experienced this week? Anything you've seen on the internet that might have been interesting?
No, man. Other than this craziness going on in Ukraine, and that's about it right now. Like I've been keeping it pretty low key this last week. I haven't done shit all. If I'm gonna be honest.
No, I feel you, man. No, usually like if there's some interesting things that you may have seen on the internet, or some maybe an interesting book one may have started. I ask because we go through life day to day or whatever, and if we don't like take any notice, even if it's like we're the type of person to share things on Instagram or share things on Facebook, and it doesn't necessarily have to be war related because it's not really a political podcast. This is I just like expressing certain views, or if you see a dope situation, expressing it. But no, man, it's just it's good. I realize it's. I've been talking to my nephews a bit more. It's good to be like perceptive and like be aware of when you're just out and about, or whether you're reading things, because we spend a lot of time on the internet, whether you're reading things online or whatever. Because it's weird, but it's like sometimes you might think of it as like, oh, this is just some trivial information. I don't want to share it, but it actually could help, or help somebody make a decision, or help somebody find some clarity on something. Which is funny because that's kind of what I've been noticing with other podcasts that I might watch. They say certain small tidbits of information, and it's like, oh shit, let me look deeper into it. Then all of a sudden you're in some shit that's helping your life.
Mm-hmm. That's hopefully, as long as it's like the right podcast, you know what I mean? Unless it's not just like, I've seen a lot of other ones where it's just like, why am I watching this? Like these guys are just like, these people are just talking just to talk at this point. And it's just like, Okay, like let's
I
go
mean,
watch something else.
no, I feel you. We gotta do it too sometimes in the context of like if I'm super if in past times, like if I'm super duper baked or whatever, and like if you say something and like I'm not even paying attention type shit, it's gonna look that way. Because, for example, I might be on some philosophical rant or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like you might not catch it, or you might be on a philosophical rant and I might not catch it. And that's the beauty of a podcast, because you're learning sometimes on the fly. Sometimes you plan an episode. Sometimes you just like, nah, bro, like I'm just talking with the homie. And that's why I like these types of forums. So even in the context of like saying, oh, well, what, like if some random listener was like, well, why am I watching these guys? They're just talking. To the people listening, that's kind of what it is. You know, we just enjoying a conversation, whether it's a conversation where we might be like, oh, these guys must be fried or something. They're just kind of talking on some high shit or whatever. Like that's just what it is. Like it's not really. It's cool when we come in here and we have like certain deep, meaningful shit we want to get off our chest, but sometimes we're just talking about some shit that we experienced or not. You know, we just kind of shooting the shit on some ideas. You know, but I say all that to say it's just we want to be a source of information, but we also want to be like, well, in my opinion, I want to be a source of like just kind of sparking a new idea, hopefully having you see life from a different lens or through a different lens. And if it helps, I really hope it does, you know.
That's the goal at the end of the day. As long as somebody looks at this and goes like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, let's do it that way, sort of thing. Then fuck, our job done. Like that's about the most I can like hope for with this.
Straight up, man. Feel a forum to get some ideas off one's chest. But yeah, man, like but that's why I even was asking like if you've seen something on Instagram or Facebook or something that you found interesting, and and it is what it is. Uh, it's one of those things. Me personally, like I'm not paying attention too much to the whole like whether it's the war that's with different things like that, because it's like unfortunately these are the things that corrupt one's brain, in my opinion, because they're actually happening. But it's like, what are these decisions? Who's deciding for these things to occur? So it's like, why am I even trying to? It's good to know, I guess. It's not about saying like, oh, I want to be oblivious. It's more about saying, dang, how is this going to benefit me and my mental health currently? And unfortunately, it's not like not everyone can have that approach, because other people, again, they're living it. But I don't know, Trent. I'm trying not to destroy my own mentality by being super into everybody else's reality. You know, I got to sometimes be selfish in that regard, because unfortunately, me personally, I can't help right this second. I don't have a gun and I'm not on the front lines, at least in that context. But all I can say is the prayers. I would hope that the families can get out of there safely who have nothing to do with this bullshit. Other than that, I don't really know what to say. There's somebody who's doing something way out of my control, right?
That's pretty much all we can do at this point, to say that basically is just like hope everyone can get out of there. I have friends on both sides of this over there. So it's really like, oh, like it's a real like fucked up situation for me, because I'm like, I just hope they're okay. Like I hope they and their families don't like get caught up in all this bullshit, because like, man, like because before all this, we all had plans to like meet up one day, like sort of thing, either in Russia or over here in Canada. But like this complicates things a lot. So yeah, nit vunya to all of them over there, and I hope they're all good over there.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's all we can say. Because again, it sucks, but it's like, unfortunately, we're dealing with everyday things, and again, it's not about being like, oh, life is negative or woe is me. It's more about just understanding that people have their own lives they're dealing with on top of the nonsense that's being added from people who didn't have to add it. That is where I'm saying, and it's not about saying that it's a big quote unquote victim's fault. I'm saying, man, even as we're talking about it now, I'm not really even like, not that I'm not like on some I don't care shit. It's more on some just I don't want to even have this type of stuff in my brain if I don't have to. Like it sucks, but it's just the reality. Like I'm facing a lot on the day to day before we even get to the outside external realms of two countries now choosing to fight on some higher scale stuff. It's just nonsense, man. It's just everything is just that's anything that's not helping me grow. Unfortunately, I can't afford to meet. And I hope anyone listening, like if something's not helping you grow, please don't have it be around you, because technically it's doing the opposite. It's destroying. So that's just some words from G. That's just a few words from me. Like,
No, it makes sense, man. It'll corrode you. Like, yeah, you watch too much of the news, you watch too much of like bad, horrific shit like that. Yeah, it will corrode you eventually. Like it's a real fine line to balance. But yeah, basically, like you said, just make sure nothing like everything you're doing, like make sure like if you are having to like if you are consuming it to like balance it out with some like not so crazy stuff too to keep your own mental, because there's only so much you can do from where we are, and that's just the fact of the matter. Unfortunate.
that's the thing. And at the same time, as wild as it is, because I know we're talking, some things are unfortunate, bro. But some things are a matter of people are making choices, bro. Everything in context is choices. Somebody's choosing to say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to storm this place. Or, hey, we're not going to do this and we're going to just not have people's lives be lost. So it's not always, sometimes it's just a matter of being like, people are making these decisions. And it's not about misfortune. Misfortune is a hurricane or something that unfortunately we couldn't necessarily control or stop. Like, this is like some stuff where it's like, this is destruction kind of thing. So at that point, you're saying, okay, we want to cause calamity and things like that, because as these quote unquote COV cases are lowering in certain places, they're lowering the restrictions, and they're having like things slowly but surely come back to normalcy. And then all of a sudden it turns into a situation where, oh, now we have these protests from truckers, and everybody's calling these truckers the devil and all that other stuff. And then we have this war now being started, and then we have da da da. It's like, it almost seems like it is planned. Like, people are trying to do this nonsense.
I think it's more of like a ripple effect than anything. Like, this happened, and then what's happened afterwards is a response to what has happened.
I mean, even in context, it's not like one country was saying, no, you can't have the VAXs, like, or whatever. Like in context, who maybe they were stopping on some other fronts, or maybe some business was bad on some other fronts. But even so, man, like, for example, the fact that these whole the people are trying to stop import, export, all these different things from happening. If that's what's happening, is that now grounds to start a war between U.S. and Canada, or the U.S. and someone else who's doing import and export that are close by to each other? Like, I'm saying it from a standpoint of, bro, this shit is certain people in power. The unfortunate part is that these corrupt people are in power and making these decisions. That's the real unfortunate part, because it's like, shit. It seems like every day a new rollout with some nonsense is happening, bro. And then on top of the external stuff, like the larger scale of things, deeper into the heart of and the roots of the cities, the communities, there's all types of stuff playing there. So it's like, man, never mind with the big stuff right now. I got to try to fix this before it's like I got a broken arm, I got a cut that's infected, I got a missing toe. I got to cut all these friggin' wounds, bro. But I got to do one at a time, and the one that's the most grave is the one that's close. I got something that's in my heart, like a cut in my heart. I got to get that heart sewed up, because that's the shit.
Triage.
But it's like, shit, that's the most important thing. Kind of looking at it from like the community, and then the city, and then the world, and the country, and then the world at larger.
That's the correct way to go about it, frankly, because like you can affect change affect change much more to like a local, like city, provincial, like not a provincial level, like city, county, like municipal level than you can at the big like provincial, like federal, and even world. What happens day to day, like policy wise in my hometown, your hometown, has much more an effect on us day to day than what happens in Ottawa or what happens in anywhere else. And that gets really overshadowed because like I said, there's global news and all that, like international news and federal news, even like national news to take into consideration. All that seems to get a top priority over like the local stuff, what's happening. And it really needs to be like, it's again coming back to that balancing act, but it's much more like a focus on like what's happening at the local level. I think needs to be taken more into consideration, because like if everyone's doing that, like if we're all worried about like what's happening in our own local, so everybody's focused on like our own places. If all our own places get like bettered by it, the whole thing would, you know what I mean? Like it's such a
Yeah.
weird way to put it, but like
Oh, that's how it is. You're literally, situations are becoming, whether it's communities, less and less crime, et cetera, over time, to a point where there's minimal crime, to a point where each city, surrounding city, has that same kind of infrastructure. And then, yes, it expands and expands to a point where it's a whole nation that has a lot of, like, I forget which country or whatever it was, whether it was like Greenland or Denmark or so, I don't know. It's something in the context of, or city or whatever. It was something in the context of like, even like their prison system, or like how in certain UK countries, like the police don't have guns and stuff like that. And crime happens or whatever, but it's not as like heinous. Like there's no like automatic weapons and things like that being used in mass casualty types. You know what I mean? And it's just, not saying again, not saying that these things aren't happening. I'm saying just in the scale levels. Like, when you think about it, how are these infrastructure? How is the infrastructure of said country? What are their work weeks like? AKA, because we're talking about cause and effect earlier. What, like, okay, oh, they only work 3 days out of the week and then they have 4 days off to be with their families and things like that. Oh shoot, there's X amount of vacation time that they all get every year, whereas here we got to fight tooth and nail to have paid time off and things. I'm just saying, like, that's why when we say unfortunate, that word, like, sometimes it's used, not saying you specifically, but just anybody, we use it incorrectly, because it's like misfortunes is like some shit that was like, oh shit, like there was no control over that. A steel plate, a steel beam fell down and hit him, versus somebody pushed the steel beam. You know what I mean? Like that's just a sick motherfucker. Like that's somebody making a terrible decision, terrible choice to do that. Versus, you know what I mean? And it's just, again, it sucks because it's, when we talk about cause and effect, these things are so crucial, Trent. But then at the same time, we sometimes we allow these things to be our lifestyle, and it's not a temporary thing where it's like, oh, this will pass. It's like, no, this person's just a crappy person who's constantly doing this. Whether it's a leader who has the power to make said decisions or whatever. Unfortunately, if you know said person is evil, you gotta make that. Y'all gotta, as a unit, gotta make that happen where that person's out of there. Otherwise,
pretty much.
Yeah, bro. I mean, hey, it's one of those things where it's one of those, we're kind of, all over the place. Like there's a phrase I'm talking about, all over the place like bird shit. That's kind of what it is. Like the conversation's not always gonna be linear, but yeah, bro. It's dope. It's dope having these types of conversations, just kind of getting these ideas out, these streams of consciousness, as Kanye West would put them. I know everyone might feel indifferent to that man, but it's funny because he still has his moments where he can bring clarity to certain individuals if that's what they need. But anyway, I say that from a standpoint of sometimes we're misunderstood, Trent, and I'm not here to shit on nobody or be like, that person's terrible because they made a mistake. If they repetitively keep doing the shit and it goes to a point where it's like they're just trying to destroy everybody, that's different. But being misunderstood and getting some assistance, and then all of a sudden if somebody can make like a redemption and redeem themselves or whatever, I can't really fault you for that. You at least trying to correct your behavior versus somebody who, just wants to stay destructive.
Exactly. It's all, like you said, it's all about that redemption at the end of the day with them. If that's the case, like everyone has that, everyone should have that second chance if it's something like nothing heinous,
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of what it is. When we'll get to wake up after a long sleep or whatever, it's kind of like you're getting another chance. Whether it's to enjoy life, whether it's to correct certain things you that's when it's unfortunate when you find yourself being like, dang, I ain't no time traveler, but I gotta fix this thing from my past. Like that's at least that's a good thing that you're choosing to do. But sometimes, bro, like we obviously we can't rewrite history and stuff. So sometimes that's why it's dope to be able to redeem yourself. So at least you as you're writing your story and making your own destiny and things of that nature, you don't have to end. It doesn't have to end on some. Well, he made a mistake, and now it's done or whatever. It's that's I don't know. I commend individuals who do that and choose to purposely, make themselves better because although we're all trying and we all have the ability to, try to get better, but sorry, the people who are actually doing it, man, like those are the real ones for real, man, because they're not allowing any excuses to kind of be in their way, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like they're not allowing, yeah, but I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. Then I had to go to work for 8 hours. Then I got to go to school for another 8 hours. Then I got to go back and repeat and do it again. Like versus the person who after they see the success, yeah, but yeah, but you had, you know what I mean? You had a good family, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but no one was working those 17 to 18-hour days. I was doing those. Those people who are resilient and choose to just keep bettering themselves. Again, I'm putting some appreciation out there because I got some good and bad news a little earlier this week, bro. And it's one of those things where it just makes you say, you got to appreciate life and you got to make sure that whatever you're choosing to do, like, make sure if that's what you truly want to do, then do that shit. But if it's something that somebody else is compelling or trying to compel you to do, or if I don't do this, such is going to be disappointed with me. Nah, bro, you can't live your life like that because then you're unfortunately going to feel regrets or feel like resentment to that person because that person might not be in your life later on and you done did whatever because you thought that was going to make that person happy. Now you're sitting there with your own decisions like, I wouldn't even have done that shit if I knew that person was going to be. So it just, again, make sure whatever you're doing that you want to do it and it's straight based off your decision. You got to enjoy that shit too, whatever you're choosing to do. Make sure you're enjoying it.
Amen.
This shit is tough, bro. And that's why it's like when we talk about if we were to ever mention the grand scale things like, oh, politics and war and COV and all that other, it's just like, yeah, you can talk about those things, but the reality is there's so many more important things happening in one's day-to-day life that I can't really expend the time out to those things unless I had like some $17 trillion and I could assist and get all types of hospitals and, you know what I mean, all types of Star Wars type shit built where I'm healing people and cancer and all types of shit's gone. But until I'm on that, I'm at that level, I gotta trip out, bro, and slowly but surely do that day-to-day shit. Everybody can sit there in front, yeah, I'm the richest, and yeah, I got all the ladies, and we can do that all day. But I'm happy when I look in the mirror, though. I can say that. And when I lay my head to rest at night, I'm cool. I'm not out here like I screwed somebody over and I shitted on this person and I ruined this person's life today. Like I'm not on that type of shit, so I can rest and not feel like you know what I mean? Like, and it's not about some competition. Like how many of y'all could say that? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm glad that I could rest and look in the mirror and not feel bad about myself. So to anyone watching, I hope you feel that. I hope you did. You know what I mean? Look in the mirror and smile and understand that you're doing things for you and love your life. And,
That's all we can hope, man. Like, and if you're not, like, well, you got it. Because basically, like you said, you're the only one at the end. You got to look yourself in the mirror and be happy with that person, basically.
Yo, man, I kind of got what I had, anything that I had on my chest. I kind of got that bad boy off, it's just sometimes it's just about some random rants and a little 1-2 soliloquy and shit on some Shakespeare shit where you do a little aside where you're in a play, but you got to talk to the audience and as if the motherfuckers in the play don't hear what you're saying. It's just between us type shit. Sometimes it's like almost on some confessional shit. Like when you watching those goofy ass like Real Housewives, those types of shows when they go to the confessionals and shit, and they're like, this chick didn't do da 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 da, and I'm upset, and then I'm just like, these ladies are crazy. But it's some funny shit that you might watch because you just like, yo, this is. It's funny when like back in the times where like you blazing it down, smoking mad herbs and shit. So you watch those goofy shows because you just want to laugh at some silly shit, Jackass, those types of shows. It's funny when you, but at the reality trend, I'm just it's one of those things where if you can get certain things off your chest, it's better to do that than try to hold them on your chest. Even if it's with a podcast with your homie, or if it's just you talking to, if you want to record little vlogs or whatever and put them out, or even if you just want to just talk to a therapist or whatever. Yo, get that shit off your chest. Don't be out here wilding and shit, trying to hold shit and think you have to do everything alone and shit.
Amen.
That's just my little 2 cents. That's my 2 pennies, you know. If you are you good to rap? It's up to you, brother.
I'm good, man. Yeah, I've got everything I wanted to say.
With that being said, we out here then. Like fucking it's another episode. My name is Graham.
I'm Trent.
And you know, it's Ultra Fly Talk. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Take care.